everybody. My name is Suhaan and welcome to the Triathlon Kid. Today, I want to be discussing about the swim section of triathlon, arguably the most hardest part of the triathlon. So, as I said in one of my previous episodes, there's a whole bunch of distances for the triathlon sport. For example, the sprint, the Olympic, and of course the Ironman. And with these different distances, there are also different distances for the swim. Go figure. For example, the sprint has about a 750-meter swim, the Olympic a 1.5 kilometer, and the Ironman with a whopping 2.4 miles. And these swims usually occur in lakes, reservoirs, bays, oceans, and other open waters. And the race course usually takes the shape of a rectangle or a triangle and are usually marked by floating buoys that are yellow, orange, or bright green in color. A lot of gear is also necessary in order to make the swim much easier for you. There's a bunch of required and optional gear. For example, the cap provided by the race officials is a must-have because not only does it allow the race officials to group you and your age group into the race, but it also allows them to track your stats and see when you finish, what your times were. So it's just an overall good thing to have. As well as, of course, goggles. The swim goggles are a must-have because you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. And having these goggles allows you to see around you without having the risk of having irritation in your eyes. Some other gear, such as wetsuits and booties, are optional, but occasionally mandated. For example, if weathers are below 58 degrees, wetsuits are mandatory. And if terrain around the water is bad, booties are also permitted. But now I want to take a little bit of a back step and talk about my story doing my very first triathlon. So I remember it was 2 months into my freshman year, and my dad had finished the Ironman California in Sacramento. And I remember he was at the finish line and excitedly asked me that, hey, you want to do this one day? And I remember at that point, I low-key just flat out told him no. Because not only was I just out of shape at that point, but I also just didn't really know how to swim. Again, I really only learned how to swim as a life skill rather than anything. I didn't think of it as a competitive sport. But after some time, I began to train and I began to develop more strength in my swimming ability. At first, I could only do 2 laps in the pool, but then I increased to 10, then 15, then 20, and then I actually reached the distance that I need to do, which was 750 meters for the sprint triathlon. And I felt pretty confident in myself, and I was ready to dominate this race. But Mother Nature just said otherwise, because the day of the race, it was gloomy, cloudy, rainy, and windy. It was just the perfect recipe for disaster. And I remember not even 5 steps into jumping into the water, I just felt this absolutely gut-wrenching cold shock, which just left me paralyzed. And coupled with the fact that people around me were slapping, kicking, pushing me around, just made the whole experience absolutely terrible for me. But eventually, I powered through. I just rose above it, and I finished the race. Of course, absolutely exhausted. But, I learned a lot of lessons from that. For example, my preparation had to be altered forever. The pool alone doesn't teach you how to swim in open waters. I'm going to give a little bit of an analogy. Think of it like cooking. You might have all the ingredients to make a perfect dish, but if you don't put them in at the right time, it's going to come out absolutely crap. And that same principle applies here. If you just put all your effort, all your strength and effort only into pool swim, you're not going to be able to swim in open waters, or at least effectively. And I found that out the hard way. So I shifted my approach to just solely doing open water swims. And one last piece of advice is take a reconnaissance of the course. It's necessary to just know what the course is a day beforehand, because it helps you set yourself into the proper mental state. And I'm telling you from personal experience, having the proper mental strength is as good as having physical strength. And with that being said, that's the end of today's episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And I hope you guys found something informative out of this. And I'll see you guys soon.